Thanks everyone for joining us. We will be talking about smoke alarms for individuals with disabilities. And Melissa Goforth, who is a program manager with Oklahoma Able Tech, will be joining us in a few moments. And I wanted to mention that certificates are available for those of you who are joining us live, and also for educators who view the archived recording. And you can contact me directly at kimberly.berry@okstate.edu. I'll provide my contact information at the end of the webinar as well. In today's webinar, you will learn who is eligible for the program, as well as how to apply, and the types of smoke alarms and alert devices that are installed. Without further ado, let's welcome Melissa Goforth, Program Manager at Oklahoma State University. And Melissa, tell us a little bit about yourself before you get started, if you will.
Sure. I graduated at Oklahoma State University with a degree in special education. I have now been with Oklahoma Able Tech since 1996, or over 22 years. And the last 10 years as a program manager. I have been working with the Fire Protection Publications Partnership with Able Tech since 2004, when Nancy Trench contacted us to say people with disabilities are at a much higher risk of fire death if they are in a home fire. So what can we do about it? So we've done a lot of different work, and over the last 6 years have been installing smoke alarms for Oklahomans with disabilities. So I'm very excited that everyone's here today, and thank you for coming. Fire safety solutions for Oklahomans with disabilities is what we're going to talk about today. I think I've got a lot of facts that some of them may surprise you. One is that more people die in home fires than in tornadoes in Oklahoma every year, year in and year out. Currently, there has been 17 fire deaths in Oklahoma City alone just since 2018. Oklahoma averages 70 fire deaths a year, whereas the national average would be about 38 fire deaths per million. We have over 18 per million. So we got a double the amount of fire deaths in Oklahoma than in other states.
Do we have some ideas of why that is?
Yes, actually there are some statistics of what increases the risk of fire deaths. One is poverty. Oklahoma does have a high rate of poverty. Another is smoking. We also have a high rate of population that smokes. And a third is rural areas too can affect that because of how fast fires are. So Oklahoma kind of hits a lot of those in the high marks anyway, so then it's kind of right on that we also have a higher death rate in Oklahoma. And I think it's interesting that I know people in fact, that have spent a lot of money to build storm shelters in their homes or in their property, and they don't have one single working smoke alarm. And so the solution is much, much easy, and it's also very affordable for most people. So, it's one of my things is that everybody really should have a working smoke alarm in their home. And I'm going to talk to you today about making sure how you'll know whether or not it's working. So the other fact is that people with physical disabilities are a factor in 14% of the fire deaths in the United States. So that's also a high level. And so we really want to get to people with disabilities of all ages so that we can reduce that. And death rate is 15 per million population people with disabilities, while it's only 9 per million in the general population. So people with disabilities are at also a higher risk. I want you to know that fire deaths occur at night. Smoke alarms save lives because they alert people to a fire. You know it's going to happen, and so then you can react. Smoke alarms are on duty detecting smoke 24/7, which is the other nice thing about them. And then deadly home fires occur while people are sleeping. So the primary emphasis is smoke alarms need to intercept the smoke from a fire before the smoke reaches sleeping people. Now, the number one cause for a home fire is cooking. But that's not the number one reason for fire deaths. Generally, cooking fires happen when people are awake and alert and they've just left the kitchen, or they've been inadvertently gotten, moved away from watching what was on the stove and will cause a fire. So And then also grease fires can happen, but those aren't deadly fires, not like the fires that occur at night. So the smoke alarm must wake people. That's really what we wanted to know. The standard smoke alarm sound does not wake some people. For example, in sleep studies of children, 80% of the children 13 years or younger do not hear a smoke alarm when they're in a sound sleep. The other population that, of course, doesn't hear them is people that use hearing aids or cochlear implants, because they have to, they take those out at night, and so they're not going to hear that smoke alarm. The other is that the smoke alarm is in a high frequency tone. And so when people lose their hearing, that's the tone they lose first. So they need to be alerted with a low frequency sound and a bed shaker, because oftentimes then the bed shaker really is what will wake them and alert them of the smoke. The Oklahoma program that I'm involved with was funded through FEMA in an Assistance to Firefighter grant. The Oklahoma Assistive Technology Foundation is the awardee of that grant. They're a nonprofit organization that contracts with both Oklahoma Able Tech and Fire Protection Publications to provide the smoke alarms to Oklahomans with disabilities. So it's all FEMA funded, which is great. Our program is currently statewide, so we can accept applications from any part of the state. In our home installations, we provide about $350 worth of equipment per household. A lot of that is because of the specialized alert equipment we're utilizing for people with disabilities. That is not necessarily typical of just buying a smoke alarm at Lowe's. The Oklahoma program also, we utilize paid trained installers. We have contracts with, independent contracts with firefighters or emergency personnel across the state that can be smoke alarm installers that have been trained to do this. We also utilize part-time students here at OSU that work for Fire Protection Publications so that they can go out in a radius around Stillwater and get installations done close to the Stillwater area. The program, the only thing that we do not do is that we do not install in licensed facilities such as nursing homes or assisted living areas, places where people have to already have fire alarm codes. They're specific to their licensing. So we don't want to conflict with that licensing code. Also, we don't install in dormitories on campuses.
Now, Melissa, we do have some eligibility requirements, correct? We serve Oklahomans who have hearing loss or who are deaf or have low vision or are blind, and those who need a device for mobility.
That's the population that we're serving. There, and that's almost everybody, by the way, not quite. But so in order to be eligible for our program, you have to have one of those disabilities specifically. However, there is no income requirement. So we never ask income. We don't care if you're high income, low income, whatever. If you have one of those disabilities, we want to help you getting the equipment you need. There is no cost to the consumer at all, and it's all installed. And if requested, we always provide paid ASL interpreters. So individuals that are deaf, because so much of our smoke alarm installation is based on providing additional education when the installers are in the home. So in order to do that and to make sure that the individual homeowner or resident actually understands how to take care of the equipment, how to test the equipment, and how to, prevent fires, then we want to be able to effectively communicate to that population. So we're really pleased with the interpreters that we're able to provide during the home installation.
Hey, Melissa, I had a question about the types of smoke alarms and equipment that are in nursing homes and dorms. Do you have any statistics on whether they are currently offering the same types of alert equipment?
Generally, they'll have strobe light alerts, smoke alarms that will also do a strobe light. So if you're deaf and maybe not be able to hear it, strobe lights often will bounce off of all kinds of walls. So you don't really even have to be right in the same room with it and be aware of it happening. But I don't have other statistics about if they provide other types of equipment or individual equipment like bed shakers like we do.
Mhm. And as far as not installing them in dorms, do you know if universities, do they install that if a student has a disability? Do they
Yeah.
install something special?
Yes, generally they will. They're responsible under reasonable accommodations to provide any necessary equipment to help that student be safe and have the same alert any other student would have. So I know of universities that have called us, including OSU, that have provided individualized alert devices in individual dorm rooms for the people that have requested them.
Okay, that's good to know.
Generally,
Just
that will work.
yeah, so we're not saying you can't have, I mean, we can't
Right.
provide it through this program, but we certainly can guide any agency or person who's trying to find the right equipment to install for a person who does need it.
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do you apply for our smoke alarm? You can go online to our Able Tech website, okabletech.org. It's going to be under the community tab under fire safety. There, if you scroll down, it will explain the program, much as what I'm doing right now, but you scroll down to download and print the application. So there's a print button, and you can then take that application, complete it, fill it out. You can either email it to us, fax it, or mail it to us. So we'll take it anyway where you want to send it. But there's also a button to submit your online application. So I would encourage anyone to use the online application. In fact, for teachers that want to let their students know about it, that's a really easy way for families to apply online. And we'll receive your application here at Able Tech, and we process that here. Also, we've actually taken applications over the phone. So all installations are completed by a scheduled appointment. Now that's very important. We accept your application, we determine you eligible. Then once we have the personnel, we can call you and schedule an appointment for them to come to your home. So we never come unannounced. We never just go on knocking on doors. We never just provide, community door-to-door kinds of programs. This is really specifically for people with disabilities, and so therefore we want to schedule that appointment.
And you may cover this in another slide, so stop me if you do, but
Okay.
do you know the time frame in general
It can
for
vary. And I'll tell you why is we may get 20 applications in a couple of days because somebody like me was somewhere and presented it and everybody sat down and filled out an application. So that can take 4 or 5 weeks. And whereas other people, we might get it in and it could be in a couple of weeks. Some people we've had to wait on some equipment occasionally, and it could be over 2 months. So we try to get the applications in and get them processed and get them scheduled as soon as possible. But I would say at least a month out is often common.
Also, you kind of did touch on this, but I know from listening to the calls when they come in, a lot of times it is the individual who has the hearing impairment, which makes it difficult sometimes for that person to communicate. So sometimes do they have relatives or friends to help with making that application?
Yes, or contact to help us schedule an installation. It's very common. And if you see, I just kind of did a screenshot real quick of our application. It's a one-page application that's easy to use, but it also asks for the general applicant information. And then we also ask for a contact person. So if you need assistance in scheduling or having someone in the home when we come, we have that information and we can contact them as appropriate. We do, work with individuals and family members to help with that. So the equipment that we install, once we've taken your application, we've called you, we've scheduled an appointment, you're going to have a trained installer come to your home. Now what happens? Well, they're going to install this equipment. We currently are using a universal alarm, which has dual sensors of both photoelectric and ionization. Photoelectric and ionizations are the two types of forms that access and see smoke. They see the smoke, and that's what activates the alarm. So, and they see it differently. So it's important to be able to have both photoelectric and ionization. We also, in the center picture, is a life tone. It's called an alert equipment. It is not a smoke alarm. the life tone actually hears or listens for the smoke alarm. When the smoke alarm goes off because it detects smoke, then that signal then is sent to the life tone that will then flash in a low frequency sound and have the bed shaker go off to alert the person. So the life tone is not a smoke alarm, but it's a specialized alert device. And then last, in households in which the person is deaf, a smoke alarm with a strobe light is also installed. Generally, we don't install those in the bedroom because, again, sleep studies have indicated that those don't really necessarily wake up a person, but they will definitely alert you during the day. So if you're around your house and that strobe light's going off, then you'll know something's going on somewhere in that house. It is a smoke alarm. The Gentex strobe light is a smoke alarm, and it will detect smoke. We generally will install those in the hallways. One thing that's really important for everyone to understand that is one is not enough. One smoke alarm in a household is not enough. The NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association, their code 72, which oversees home smoke alarms, it says that you should have one alarm in every bedroom. Because so remember when I started out with, most fire deaths occur at night and when people are sleeping. So the smoke alarms need to be in every bedroom. An alarm needs to be outside every sleeping area. And there needs to be an alarm on every level. So that's really a critical component. And that's when we go and install equipment, we're putting one in every bedroom, outside every sleeping area, and on the sleeping on every level. Some places, the next thing is about the location. Well, that's true about where you install your smoke alarms. The right alarm needs to be put in the right place, and that can make a difference. For example, we don't install smoke alarms in the kitchen because we want to avoid nuisance alarms. If you have it in the kitchen, it's often if you burn the toast or your bacon's gotten too smoky, the alarm will go off, and then you take it down if it keeps doing that, and it's a nuisance to you. So you think, oh, I'm not going to mess with this anymore, and you just take it down. So we try to avoid putting smoke alarms anywhere where there would be create a nuisance. The bedside alert device is set up, and then we sync that. And when I say sync it, it has to hear the tested alarm before it can start, and then it will always stay in sync unless it gets unplugged. So that's the home installation once we get there. But while we're there, installers need to take the time to train the residents on how to operate and test the alarms and the alert devices. And that's really important, particularly if you need to move your bedside alert device or something, then you'll need to know how to resync that device to your alarm through a test alarm. A home safety checklist also happens, and it helps to help lessen the risk in and around the house. Information is provided specifically to help prevent additional fires, what you can do to prevent your home fires, prevent falls or accidental poisonings. FEMA really wants us to have everyone aware of some of the dangers of being in home and how you can alleviate those risks. And then we discuss and plan to practice the family fire escape. We write that down on a paper. We look at the floor plan of the home. We just kind of sketch it out briefly and make sure that they have a place to escape, and at least two places to escape out of every room. We leave program contact information should any of the equipment malfunction, and they can contact us and we will help them work that through, because we want the smoke alarm equipment and alert devices to be working for that person. I mentioned that we have trained installers. Well, currently, one of our projects that was funded through FEMA a couple of years ago is we have developed a free online course that is at the IFSTA Resource One website. IFSTA is the International Fire Safety Training Association. And they have a Resource One website at www.ifsta.org. There you can go on the right-hand side and you can see that there is a smoke alarm installer training, which includes 3 separate modules. First, we have the smoke alarms installer training, where we teach people how the fire is very fast, the NFPA code as to where to install, and the types and location of alarms and where they need to be to to reduce the nuisance alarm. But we also have a module on firefighters serving people with disabilities, social etiquette, how to communicate effectively with people with disabilities, and some kind of do's and don'ts. We teach them about people first language, and then also how to work with an ASL interpreter or service animal. For example, when an ASL interpreter is there, people tend to want to talk to the interpreter and not the individual that's deaf. So we'll teach those people how it's really important that you're communicating with the person that's deaf. Then the last is there's a module on the smoke alarm project management. And so for programs across the nation that may be interested in duplicating some of our efforts in our outreach to Oklahomans with disabilities can go to that module, and there's lots of information on what to do about developing a program. So we're really proud of that online course, and it's completely free, and I'd welcome anyone to go and learn more about smoke alarm installations.
So tell us a little bit about the range of people who are taking this, have taken this kind of training and are out doing these installations around the state.
Yeah, we've had, some of them have been volunteer firefighters. A lot of the small towns in Oklahoma, they don't have a fire department, and so they'll use a volunteer fire department. And so some of the guys are volunteer fire department people, volunteer firefighters, in which they've learned our training, and then in their spare time will do home installations. Some of them are firefighters that are working firefighters, and they'll do it on their time off. Some of them are in emergency preparedness, in which they're part of a team that not only looks at fire and fire safety for individuals, but at the big pictures of natural disasters and flooding and all those kinds of things. So that's generally who our installers have been. Some of our guys have been trained as part-time and worked for us as students, and then when they got out of school, continued to do it for a little while for us. So it's just kind of an assortment of people. Mm-hmm. But they are individuals that we're really proud of our installers, because people have commented and have really bragged about how thorough they are and polite, and they even clean up their mess after they leave, so you don't have to worry about it. So
that's really nice. I had kind of an ulterior motive for asking also. I was wondering if are any teachers signing up to be installers. Would that be a reasonable part-time job for teachers who are looking for extra work?
For extra work, it could be. It'd be. A lot of people want to do it in the evenings or the weekends, so certainly we would not turn away anyone that would want to go through the online course and be interested in becoming an installer. And in fact, we're looking for installers, particularly out in the scattered far fields of Oklahoma, west of I-35, southwest of I-35, those kind of places. We're really short on installers right now. So the more installers we have, the faster we can get to the home. So we're always looking for installers, and I'd be happy to visit with anybody that want to learn more about it and the details.
And also, in getting back to those modules, especially the ones about people first and serving people who have disabilities, that seems like it would be good training for anyone, whether they were wanting to be a smoke alarm installer or not. That might be some really good information for someone who's interested.
Yeah, and the other is, it's just kind of a general, I call it disability overview, disability etiquette overview, that is, like you said, far-reaching, much beyond being just a smoke alarm installer, that the information is helpful to a lot of different people that are not used to being around people with disabilities, basically. And they're like, oh, I don't know what to say, and I don't know what to do. And we kind of get them through that and say, oh, it's easy. Here, let's show you how. So I'm going to kind of wrap up today with talking about some big things that are important to me. The fire safety tips that we do is I want everyone to know that it's critical that you install smoke alarms. And remember, one is not enough. And that fire is very fast. In today's homes where there's the open floor plan and lots of polyurethane fabrics that are, synthetic fabrics that just, almost blow up. Fire goes through very fast, and that's one of the things is we don't, for example, put fire extinguishers in the homes because we're trying to train people. If you hear that smoke alarm, the most important thing to do is to get out fast. So we don't want you to stop to try to look for one or try to figure out if it's working or try to figure out how to work it. So we just want you to get out. We want you to know 2 ways out of every room in your home. And so make sure that window does open in your bedroom. And if it's on the 2nd floor, do you have an alternative, a roll-out ladder or something that you can do to get out? Create a home fire escape plan and practice it at least twice a year, and be sure to include the children. It's going to, even if you have to kind of wake them up and go through it, it's really, really important, because they know for a fact that if people have practiced those exit plans, that they become a lot more safer. And then identify a meeting place outside your home for all the occupants. So that's got to be part of your fire plan. And we recommend that the meeting place be in the front of the house, so that when the firefighters get there and other emergency personnel, you all can identify that everyone's out and that you're all right there. So make sure that you have a meeting place outside. And then don't wait. Check the date. Replace your smoke alarms every 10 years. This is a little known fact. The sensing of smoke alarms they're no longer effective after a 10-year period. So even if you have a smoke alarm in every room in your house, if it's over 10 years old, it's not going to be effective to sensing that smoke. All that sensing technology is kind of worn out, literally. So it's time to take it down and replace it. There's always going to be a manufacturer date on the back of your smoke alarm, so check that manufacturing date and replace it if it's 10 years old. Any other questions?
One of the last things you were talking about was the batteries. So as far as the smoke alarms and the alert equipment that our program installs, are those batteries going to need changed? And if so, how often? And is that something we help with, or does the recipient have to take care of that?
Generally, the recipient is responsible for the maintenance of the smoke alarm after we've installed it, which would include additional batteries. The universal alarm has a long life battery that is supposed to last approximately 10 years. Now, we're having some problems with that, I will admit, but for the most part, so that you actually cannot change the batteries in that. It's got a sealed battery compartment, so if you break that open, then the smoke alarm is no longer effective. So for our universal alarms, they should last the 10 years. Lifetone has a backup battery that may need to be replaced about every year or two, and that's if the electricity goes out. So it will still work if the electricity goes out. And the strobe Gentex alarm also has a backup battery that may need to be replaced every 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Have we been offering this program long enough to have repeat business? You know, is somebody had their smoke alarm that we gave them, you know, need replaced, and they've gone through the application again to get a second?
Yes, and sometimes their alarm doesn't work anymore. Like then when they test it, or there's a problem with it, we'll replace it if there's been a problem. And then sometimes that might mean a brand new installation, or sometimes it might be that we can ship them a replaced smoke alarm if they were previously with us.
So what are like the most common issues that people will have if something is malfunctioning, or they just, you know, getting some message?
With the Lifetone alert device, you have to remember that if the smoke alarm goes off in the house, so if there was a nuisance alarm that goes off and you can turn off the alarm, then you might have to resync the Lifetone, because the Lifetone's gone off too. And so then you have to shut it all down and resync it. And a lot of people might have some problems with that. They can't get it to stop, or then they can't get it to go back on. So that's a lot of our technical assistance, and we can do a lot of that over the phone. Occasionally, an alarm, like we had one the other day where it was only in for a few months and the battery was chirping like it was low battery. And so we're going to replace that alarm, because that shouldn't have happened. And just kind of different scenarios for different people. I will tell you that. They're kind of all over the map. But something happens, it's either not going to alarm, or it's alarming in the middle of the night for no reason. And then we got to try to figure out what the problem is.
As far as interpreters go, we have a large Hispanic population as
Right.
well as many, many other nationalities. So how do we handle those translations?
Well, currently we would do everything we could to try to arrange for an interpreter and pay for that interpreter. We certainly, under our FEMA grant, we have some flexibility in that way, which is great. We did have one installer that spoke Spanish at one time. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. And the installers that we have currently, I don't think any of them speak Spanish, but we certainly would try to make arrangements so that we can reach out and make sure that that household also gets the equipment they need. The other thing I didn't mention is you don't have to own your home. You can be living in an apartment, you could live in a duplex, you can live in a house that you're renting. It doesn't require home ownership. And I kind of referred all through the meeting today about homeowners, but they're really not. Anybody can have the equipment if it's not a licensed facility. And then if you move, we want you to move the equipment with you, particularly those specialized alert devices. Take them with you. They belong to you, and we want you to be able to use them as long as they're good.
That's all the questions I have. So thank you very much, Melissa. I see your contact information is there. Individuals can go to the website and fill out the applications and give Melissa a call or anyone at Able Tech, and we can help to direct you to that. Finally, if you need documentation of your participation, email me or call me. Kimberly.berry@okstate.edu is my email address. My direct line is 405-744-8342. Or you can call the 800 number, 800-257-1705. And again, our website address is okabletech.org. So thanks everybody for joining us today, and hope to see you again soon.